Hello everybody, I'm Rod. If you received this Excel model as a gift because you bought one of our Smoke Block products, we want to thank you so much for choosing our brand. We really hope that you're enjoying your product. But also, if you bought this model directly, in both scenarios you can hit the link below to access the latest versions of this model. We're always bringing improvements to it. And you can also access promotional offers for Smoke Block products and communicate directly with our team. Now, I know that this is a long tutorial, okay? But you don't have to watch it all, and I'll explain why in a second. I do recommend, though, that you use the 1.5x speed option in the YouTube video configuration so you can save some time, because I can sometimes speak too slowly. Okay, so let's just make a quick overview of the whole model so you kind of understand how the model works and what are the essential sheets that you need to fill, at least to use the model to its minimum capability. Okay, so now let's just jump into it. Now, we're gonna go first to the net worth component sheet, where you're gonna input in the cell K8 your starting date. This is a must for everyone. You always have to input a starting date for your model. And basically, if you don't care for controlling your net worth, you can jump directly to the TRX sheet and skip the tutorial on this sheet. But if you do care about your net worth, basically in this sheet, you will be telling the model what you had at the moment of the starting date, what assets you had and what liabilities you had, to basically know your net worth. Next, we're gonna go to the transactions and categories sheet, or TRX sheet. And here you're telling the model, hey, what's changing throughout the days, throughout the months, regarding what I had in the beginning. If you didn't input your assets and liabilities in the NWC sheet, it's basically like telling the model, hey, I had 0 at the starting date. Okay? Now you're gonna help yourself with the bank data sheet to fill the TRX sheet more efficiently and faster, and not manually, because that would take a lot of time. And next we have the overview sheets. This is basically all you need to know. If you didn't fill the NWC sheet, then the net worth overview won't be helpful for you. And the income and expense overview is always going to be helpful for you, because everyone fills the TRX sheet, right? And we also have these sheets, budget, so you can budget for your future expenses and income, and that's directly tied to your TRX sheet. And also your NW.FRC sheet, where you tell the model what's going to be your net worth in the future, and specifically for some investment accounts. Okay, and you also have a savings control sheet. You can assign funds to your savings and assign to different savings concepts. And finally, you have these last 3 sheets, which are just tools. You can determine debt and interest portion, amortization portion for different kinds of loans. You have a daily calendar, and finally you have a life plan and birthday sheet, and that's it. There's no more to it. That's the whole model. You'll find that it's a pretty simple model to use once you understand it, and it's very flexible and gives you a lot of options. It lets you forecast in different ways for the future, which is something not a lot of models will let you do, so have that in mind. And now let's dive into the detailed tutorial. Let's go. Once you follow the QR code or you enter the link directly, you will find 2 files in this drive. You're supposed to download both files, but in this example I will just download this one. And you download anyway. This file type might be dangerous. You download anyway. It's not dangerous, I promise. And here you will show in the file, and you're gonna have it right here. If you open it right away, you'll see this. Protected view, be careful, files from the internet can contain viruses. If you enable editing, Microsoft will automatically block the macros from working. And the macros are the buttons that are inside the model. So these buttons here, update charts, display current month, sort table data. If you want to have them enabled, what you have to do is close, don't save. And now right click here, show more options, or go to options, to properties then, and then go to general tab and security. Down here you unblock. You check unblock the file and you apply and accept. Now if you open the model, it will show like this. You just enable the content, and once you start using the model, you can save, and the next time you open it, it's gonna be just fine. Very quickly, before we start, have in mind the following options. So to enable dark mode, like I have here, go to File, Account, go to Office Theme, and choose dark gray or black. In this example, we will be using black. You can delete the instructions worksheet if it is no longer needed. To do this, right-click the sheet's name and click Delete. You won't be able to undo this later. Now you can change the zoom level for each sheet independently. To do this, left-click the zoom percentage, that's down and to the right, and choose a percentage that feels comfortable for you. In this case, 102% as an example. And finally, the whole Excel model is filled with explanatory notes that will appear once you hover over a cell that contains one, like so. So be sure to read every single note to avoid making mistakes when making inputs. Okay, so now it's important to know that once you understand this model, it is extremely easy and simple to use, I promise. So let's start. To start using the model, head to the NWC sheet, also known as net worth components. This is the example file, example Excel file, but let me go to the empty one so you have an idea of what you will see. So you will see something more like this. So in cell K8, so this cell over here, input the first day of a month and a year of your liking. Here I'm gonna input the 1st of January 2023, okay? Now, this will be the starting date for your model from here on. We will refer to this date as the starting date. There is no need to input this date elsewhere in the model. Have in mind that if you are not interested in tracking your net worth, then you can skip the tutorial about this sheet and only use the TRX or transactions sheet along with its categories and subcategories to only track income and expenses. Okay? So next, locate column H here, or the description column. Here you will input all your assets and liabilities, always in accordance with the account class here and the account identifier. So once you input a description, a code for that specific account will be created automatically. For example, if for cash and cash pile, that means physical cash, I have maybe cash under my bed. So I write a description, cash under bed. You will see that a code is created automatically. Okay? If you don't like this code, you can go ahead and create your own one for that specific account. Just input it manually in the corresponding cell. So if I want to make the code easier to understand, because cash.1ca.bed, that's not very easy to understand. Let me input cash.bed. That's very easy to understand. Now I can do this, and I'm fixing it in place so it's not as a formula anymore. Because if I leave it as a formula and then I change this description, cash under bed, but maybe this time under bed in master room, okay? So you can see that the code now has changed. And of course, this will be a problem if you have already used this code in the TRX or transactions sheet, because the TRX sheet reference code will no longer match with the specific account code in this NWC sheet. So to avoid this, either leave the description as it is or create and manually input a fixed code yourself. Now, let's leave this as a formula for now. And let's leave this as cash under bed. Now, each created asset or liability account is supposed to exist forever. So basically, if you have filled all these bank accounts, as an example, now you have here this bank account with this description, and you have filled all the 7 bank accounts, and you need an 8th bank account. What you will do is head to the edge, the left edge, until you see this black arrow. Hit right click, insert table rows above. And now you will classify this with the right classification. In this case, it's cash. In this case, the account identifier should be account. And now the next number after 7 is 8. So this is how we would do it. And now we can create the description. By the way, the formula, you have to drag it. And there it is. There's the code. I suggest you don't leave it as a formula. Create your own manual code instead. It's easier to understand and it avoids problems in the future if you change the description. Now, for each account, asset or liability that you add, input a starting balance in the blue column to the right of the description column. So right here in the example, in the Excel file that is an example, you can see this here, like so, okay? So each account has a starting balance corresponding to the date that you entered in here, cell K8. Now, if it's a bank account, input the exact amount of the account at the starting date in K8. If it's an asset like a car or a house, input a valuation of the asset for that same date. And if it's a loan, input the principal owed again at the same starting date. So here, when I say a loan, I mean money that you've lended, like here, or money that you've borrowed, like here. That would be a liability, okay? If you can see, assets are a positive number, liabilities a negative number. Now, finally, assign a level of liquidity to each account previously created. For assets, the level of liquidity means that you can potentially turn that asset into cash in the time frame indicated by that level of liquidity's name. For example, for month liquidity, it means that the asset can be made liquid in a month or less. For liabilities, the level of liquidity means that the liability must be paid down in that time frame. Okay? We have also a level of liquidity called periodic, where it is paid periodically. So, and we also have undetermined liquidity, when we don't know when we're going to receive that asset. We can turn that asset into cash, or we have to pay that asset. Now, let's continue with the transactions sheet. So TRX sheet here, transactions and categories. Transactions over here, categories to the right. Now, once you've finished filling up all the necessary information in the NWC sheet, you can start filling the TRX sheet with all the transactions that occur after the starting date. So basically you're going to see something like this over here. So it's an empty sheet. In the account code column, fill the account code for the corresponding transaction. Now I'm going to do the example here, by doing it manually, but normally you're going to use the bank data sheet to copy the information. Probably your output is going to be 4 columns, and you're going to come over here and you're going to paste the output, okay, like so. You're going to fill all these columns with information of account code, of date, of transaction name, and amount. Okay, in this case, I'm doing the example filling it manually. Now, here in account code, you're going to bring the account code from the account related to this transaction in particular. So basically, maybe I received money in cash, physical cash, and I put that cash under my bed. So I would get this account code, I would paste it here, and now I would input the date. Let's say that it is 15th of January. The transaction name, normally it's going to come right from the bank statement, but since this is a manual input, I would say that it is cash income, like that. And then we're going to do the amount. Let's say it's $300. And we're going to give it a category, a subcategory. And you can use the NC column to determine cash flows in greater detail. But I will offer more information on this later. But for now, if you don't want to, you can leave this column blank forever, actually, and nothing bad will happen. You will just have less information. We could say it that way. So finally, you can add a detail about that transaction. Doesn't matter. That's it. Don't forget to fill the first column named month, okay, or MNTH. This column will assign the transaction to a specific month. This is supposed to be filled manually. So basically what I said about the bank data sheet, you would get the output from here, you would paste it. I'm going to paste here, of course, it has no information. I'm going to delete this. And it's going to paste like so, all the information. And now you have to input the month where those transactions need to be assigned to. So in this case, let's say they happened in January 2023. So we are gonna input the first day of the month and year of the transaction. So I would input the first day of January 2023. And then I would go and give the rest of the transactions the same month if they belong to this same month. Now, the month doesn't necessarily need to match the dates column month. This gives you freedom to assign every transaction to whatever month that you would like. Now, once you have filled all the necessary transactions for the day or for the week, I recommend that you do this weekly. Click the Sort Table Data button. So I'm going to show in the example file right here. Once you have filled all the information, you just click this. Now, this will sort the transactions first by month column and then by the date column. You can use the filters to visualize specific transaction types like here. So if I want to visualize the food transactions, I can see them here. I can clear the filter by pressing this button. I can also do it by account code like so. I can choose the multi-select option and select more than one to visualize. Then I can clear the filter and unselect the multi-select option. Okay, there's a warning. Do not create new categories or subcategories. You should use the ones that are already in existence. If you still want to create new categories, I will offer an explanation later, but it gets complicated. Now, these are the categories that you can use and the subcategories on the second column, okay? I've put a lot of thought into this, so they should be extremely helpful and sufficient for you. These are also a type of categories, but these are for the NWC sheet. Okay, you shouldn't create new ones here either. Now, what you can do in the NWC sheet, you can create new account identifiers, but always give them a number, and they have to belong to this category of or a class of account that already exists. Now, the BD or bank data sheet is only a helper sheet. This is just an example of how it could turn out. But you will have it like this. So an empty sheet. Now, it is supposed to help you paste the raw transactions from your bank statements and get an output that you can perfectly paste on the TRX sheet. So you can make things easier to do. Now, this sheet could be different for every single user, and you will have to create it for yourself. You should get 4 columns as an output, okay? So I'm saying those are the 4 columns because, as you can see, here is where you're gonna paste it. And this is account code, date, column number 2, column number 3, transaction name, and amount. So 4 columns. Now, here I'm gonna show you an example. I'm gonna pull these Excel transactions from a credit card statement. So let's say that I bring this and right here, okay, I'm gonna paste over here the transactions. Okay. Now, first of all, to make the example easier to understand, let me first create an account for those transactions. So this is a Diners Club credit card. I'm gonna call this credit card Diners Club, okay? It's gonna create automatically an account code, but I don't like this one. So I'm gonna do cc.diners club. It's a little long, but it will do. Now, I'm gonna copy this account code. But first, let me create the columns for this that I just pasted here. And I paste it as a value. You go here, you go to the bank statement in Excel, or you can maybe copy it directly from the web and then paste it. Now I'm doing it from an Excel file like this. I copy or Control C. I go to bank data and I paste as a value. You choose the 1, 2, 3 values or paste special values and OK. Now this is a date. This is a name. This is city. This is currency 1 and this is currency 2. But here we're going to do the example with just one currency. So what are the columns that we need as an output? We need account code, date. In this case, we're going to do date 2. Let's turn this into a table. Okay. My table has headers. Yes. Okay. And let's give it no fill. Like so. Let's give it a nice table design. Over here, I choose this one. And now let's create this other column. Date, we said what else? Transaction name and amount. So let's say name and amount. So this is going to be your output. Now this column in particular, we're going to input things manually here. So we know that transactions, those transactions belong to this account. So we're going to go with this and paste it here. Now we need the date, so we're going to do equal sign and bring the date over here. We need the name, so we're going to do equal sign and bring the name over here. You can make the column wider. And finally, amount, and we're going to do amount, let's say amount over here. Now, this is wrong because these are expenses from the bank statement, but it is showing the expenses as a positive number. So how to fix this? You just do multiplied by -1. Okay? You're going to have an error here because there's an empty cell. Doesn't matter. If you want to fix this, you just go here to the formula on the first cell and do if error And in the case of the value you do of value error, you give 0. Okay, so it's going to give you 0 if there's an error. And now this is our output here. Okay, if you want to have this more clear, you can do input like this. So now I'm going to bring the output to the table like so, and there we go, voila. In reality, you will probably do it for many more transactions, and it's going to fill much faster the transaction sheet. Okay, and I will give it a month. Now this is set, in this case it says May, maybe they do belong to May, so we go ahead and write the 1st of May 2023, and we copy this for all the others. Okay, we assign categories and we give a little description if we want to. The last function you need to know about the transaction sheet is that there are helper columns. Okay, if you see, there's 4 transactions that belong to a same vendor, and that vendor is called Rappi. Now if we want to use the helper columns, these helper columns will help us give categories and subcategories to transactions. So they will suggest a category and subcategory. I can do this by giving it the Rappi name, and now say that this is normally, let's say that this is normally food. So deliveries here, deliveries. Now for all the transaction names that have the word Rappi in them, it will suggest, hey, maybe this is food deliveries. Now, if we want to be quick, we can just copy this and paste it. Now, sometimes it won't be the case. It's not going to be the case always that it is indeed food delivery, so you have to keep that in mind. But it is a useful tool to fill the categories and subcategories more easily, right? Then we have the budget sheet, okay? So the budget sheet is very straightforward. Just input the budget for every month. You can also input debt principal, flows, and interest payments, okay? So basically you can see that in the example file. Here we have expenses and income as positive, expenses as negative, and here we also have interest payments. Here and here we also have principal payments. Here we have principal collected or received as a positive number. This is principal paid, okay? Now interest, what about interest received or gained or earned? Now you're going to have that category here. So in the table above. Now be advised or have in mind that you can budget for principal and interest payments using the DD or debt determination sheet. That is here. Now I input an interest, original number of months for that loan, a principal owed, and I can get the interest and amortization portion. If I want to get this to the budget sheet, I just copy this, Ctrl+C, and I get to the budget sheet, and it's going to paste first the interest portion. So I will position myself here, and I will paste special values transpose, and it will paste the interest portion and the principal portion. So let's now go to the savings sheet. Now it's called SAV, okay, savings control. Here in this sheet, to assign saving funds to the SAV or savings sheet, you have to use the SAV column in the NWC sheet. okay? Also known as column F. So here in NWC sheet, you will see that there's column F or also SAV or S for savings. And if you assign an S to a specific account, those funds will go to the savings sheet. You can assign the S to more than one account and it will sum up. Now here you can create concepts for savings and give them a level of priority. So the funds assigned for savings will begin filling all the concepts one by one, starting with the highest priority level. So once a savings concept has been filled to a 100%, it will begin filling the next one. In this case, emergency fund was filled first to 100%, then it started filling unforeseen expenses to 100%. If we add another one here, maybe a one-time event, could be a wedding or whatever. Let's say it's $20,000, okay? So it's filling to a 28.5%, okay? It's gonna continue filling, then we can add another concept for saving to be invested. For example, you want to invest $2,000. Let's give it a value goal of 2,000. So it of course is 0 at the moment. Okay, so while those accounts grow, those assigned with an S, they will be growing if you're making them grow, of course, and they will start filling all the concepts. At one point, you are going to use that money. So for example, the wedding date is here. You use the money. So the concept should expire. And this you do manually, okay? This is not automatic. So you would delete this concept for savings, and you can paste this as a value over here just to have them all close together, like so. Of course, the savings would have decreased because you used the money. Total assigned to savings would have gone down. Now, we can continue with the NWFRC or net worth forecast sheet. So in this sheet, it can be used to forecast specific asset accounts and also your entire net worth. So input the account identifier in the blue cells in column B, and also input a starting value in the next blue cell for each one of them. Now you can add a nominal growth and or a percentage growth for each month. So do this for a maximum of 6 asset accounts. The rest of your net worth value can be entered into cell C29, which is over here. And this last portion of your net worth is supposed to be neither growing or shrinking, just maintaining its value. Okay, so basically you would have something like, you would have all this empty, right? So let's say that you made an input for this account, which we can find, by the way, over here, equity investment account 1. We can also find business investment here, business investment in the NWC sheet. We can also find real estate 1, which is here. So we've inputted a value, a starting value, and then here I went with a percentage growth. And this is a formula over here. You don't touch this. You just touch the growth percentage or nominal growth. Here I went with nominal growth for the first 3 months and then percentage growth. Here I went with only percentage growth month over month. And now, since you can see here, the actual net worth is $149,000. And here the forecast says 273. So how do we fix this? How do we make it match? You add the rest. So try what number fits, right? I think it was something like this. We're almost there. Now let's do 175. We're almost there. Let's do 176. Okay. So now we have more or less the same net worth. So this part of the net worth is going to stay fixed, and the other parts are going to grow or shrink. They could also shrink. Okay. So here it says forecast only relevant accounts that can or will change significantly over time. Okay. Now here finally we have the net worth overview sheets. So they should help you have a clear understanding of your financial position and your monthly operations. So if you didn't fill the NWC sheet because you're not interested in tracking your net worth, you did fill this date over here because that's important. But everything else, maybe you didn't fill because you're not interested in net worth, then this particular NWOV or net worth overview sheet, it won't be of any use for you. It will be empty. Okay. Now, in that case, you're only going to use the income and expense overview. But if that's not the case, then yes, it's going to be useful for you. So in the NWOV sheet, you can visualize or display any month by using the drop down menu in cell C5 here, and we can see March, for example. We can see April. Okay. If you want to always display the current month, just enter CM. You have it down here, or you can manually input CM, C.M. Then, and it will display the current month always, which is the one that is here. Now, also in the cell V26, now here, you can choose the level of savings priority that you want to visualize. Now, by default, we have levels 1 and 2, but you can change them to something else if you want to have them here in your overview sheet. Under current month events, so over here, you will be able to see events that will happen or have happened in the current month. These come from the LP or life plan sheet, so over here. Now, below the pie charts, you can find a line chart for your total net worth against your forecasted net worth. If you haven't forecasted net worth, you will only see the bright light blue line. And below that, you will find the same type of line chart, but for the first two accounts that you forecasted in the NWFRC sheet. Okay, so basically these two accounts here, you're going to visualize them over here, the growth against the forecast. And finally, you'll be able to see all the account details at the bottom of the sheet. Okay, all the account details if you need them. Now, in the next overview sheet, the income and expense overview, you'll find two sections. So section 1, the left one, will let you look at a single month in detail. So this is the left one. And the right one, so over here, it will let you look at all the months together. Now, again, you'll find a drop down in the C5 cell over here. You can change this to see different months. Okay, for the left portion, let's say, let's give it CM. So in the single month section, you will find first a comparison of the actual income and expenses of the month being displayed versus other months. Next, you will find a comparison of that same month being displayed, but now against the budget. If you keep scrolling down, you'll find a more detailed subcategory section of the month actuals against the budget for subcategories. Here you can see the pie charts. This is for the actuals, income actuals, expense actuals, percentages. Okay, for each subcategory in the case of income, and for each category in the case of expenses. In all the months overview, so here, you'll find three main ways to look at information. Stacked bar charts, there they are. Net calculations, so here, all these. And a pivot table organized by category and showing subtotals for each. Now, they can all provide useful information depending on what you're looking for. You can also use the time filter to change the data displayed in all the stacked bar charts. So all these stacked bar charts, and here we have accumulated months, they will change if I use this filter. For example, I only want to see the first quarter, so I choose this period of time. I will only see the first 3 months and this accumulated months, and that's the way it's gonna look like. Now, if I want to clear this filter, I simply click here. Now, have in mind that this pivot table below will continue to fill columns to the right, so over here, and also below. So it's important that you leave this, all these spaces or all these cells empty. You must also refresh all the right-hand sections, so all this section here, so the right-hand section. And you can refresh this section by going to the pivot table and just right-clicking anywhere in the pivot table and pressing refresh, and it will automatically refresh. Or you can also click the button here, update charts. Okay, it will do the same in a macro. You can do also display current month, and it's going to display current month in both overview sheets. Finally, we have talked a little bit about the debt determination sheet. It is only a tool that will let you figure out the total monthly payment or the interest and principal portions for a loan. You can enter the interest, number of months, and principal owed to determine a total monthly payment. Later, you can also enter that payment number as a positive over here and update the principal owed to figure out how many monthly payments are left. And with this tool, you can copy the interest and amortization columns, like I've said before and I've done before, to the budget sheet by pasting as a value and checking transpose option. Okay, the second table will mix interest and principal portions in the last payment. Okay, so you're supposed to separate these once you take the values to the budget sheet. Like here, this would be one example. So there's interest, 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 and we have separated the last principal payment from the interest payment. You can see it here, just like this, but they are together in this example. Now, the C sheet is only a calendar, daily calendar. You can change the dates by going to the first cell here. You can do whatever date that you want, and then autofill by doing double click right here on this cross. And finally, the life plan. Okay, here you need to input your birthday, and it will give you your age for every month of the year or the period that you've chosen in the starting date. It will give you what month you are in regards to your birthday or your birth date, right? And here finally you can go ahead and input annual events that you want to remember, and they will appear on the NWOV sheet, so the net worth overview sheet here.